Hey everybody, today I'm in Westfield, Indiana, which is absolutely one of Indianapolis' really most popular suburbs and also fastest growing suburbs. It has exploded here over the past 20 years or so, and actually you could probably argue that it's one of the fastest growing places in the entire state or the entire country. And it's pretty unique when you compare it to a lot of the other Indianapolis suburbs because of what they're doing when they mix their old with their new, or their historic with their new. So we'll get into some of the details of that in this video, so stay tuned. Hey everybody, I'm Jason Compton with the Compton Home Group. Welcome back to the channel. If it's your first time here to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living in places like this, Westfield, Indiana, or Indianapolis or the surrounding metro, then make sure you hit the subscribe button. Also tap the little bell so you're notified every time we do a new video each and every week. Now we get calls and texts and emails from people all over the Indy metro and all over the country with questions about places like Westfield and also Indianapolis. So if you have questions or you're even thinking about making your move within Indy or the surrounding areas or to Indy or the surrounding areas, then be sure you reach out because we love it when people do. So when you do, we'll absolutely have your back whenever you're making your move. Now Westfield, Indiana, it is not a new place, even though I said, of course, at the beginning, it's a place that's mixing its old with its new and it's exploding. There weren't that many people here really just 20, 25 years ago, but now there's a heck of a lot more. But it's been around since 1834, and it was actually founded by some North Carolina Quakers. It was Ambrose Osborne, Asa Bales, and Simon Moon. And it has a super interesting history, actually, because it was at least, very heavily involved with the Underground Railroad. And those three individuals, among some others, were very involved with that, and actually having slaves who had escaped come through here on their way further north. And it's interesting because at that time, the anti-slavery movement, the abolishment of slavery, really intensified here in Westfield. And you can still see a lot of that history here. So if you go up and down Union Street in the old historic portion of Westfield, there are actually a handful of houses that are still standing from that time period. I know that you can get into some of those houses, and some of the hiding places that they used to use are still there. Just some of the pieces from that particular era. Really cool. Now it's only a few of those homes that are still around. And of course, when we're talking 1830s, 1840s, 1850s, that would be an incredibly old home. But if you go up and down Union Street, some of that spirit or that feel still exists, even in some of the newer homes that you have up and down that street. So like I said, Westfield is a place that has just exploded. It's growing incredibly fast. Now some of the growth has stopped here really in the past, not stopped, but slowed down in the past few years compared to what it was. But if you look back in 1990, there was really just a little over 3,000 people here. And then you get up to the year 2000, maybe a little over 9,000 people here. But then that's when the growth really started to explode. Over the next 10 years, the population here tripled. So in 2010, we're looking at having more than 30,000 people, and then we get all the way up to 2020 when this video here is being shot today, 44,000 people or so. So that is some explosive growth. Now Westfield, of course, is still small, over 40,000 people. That's not a city that we'd consider big by any stretch of the imagination, but inside the last 20 years, to take that growth from where it was to where it is today, that's pretty incredible. And then to hold on to some of the, not just local history that it has, but really national history that it has is really pretty incredible. Now you can find a lot of homes in here that of course were built in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and into the 90s. And the 90s are kind of getting into that newer realm to start to keep up with the growth. But what do you do when you have a city or a town at the time that is growing that fast? You have to build. So when you look through Westfield, you will find tons of places that still hold on to that historic feel that Westfield has. And in a lot of the parks, like the one that I'm in here right now, definitely a theme that's running through Westfield. And this is one of the things that makes Westfield really a little bit different than a lot of the other suburbs, is because that history is just kind of out in front. This is Freedom Trail Park, and it's one of many parks that you're going to find in Westfield with that particular theme that it has tied back to the anti-slavery movement. So we've got this one, we've got Asa Bales Park. He was, of course, one of the founders. Liberty Park, there's Old Friends Cemetery Park. So that's part of that Old Friends or the Friends Church that originally founded Westfield. There's Osborne Park, named after one of the founders. There's Simon Moon Park, named after one of the founders. There's Armstrong Park, which is actually a really cool park, after a prominent family who lived in this particular area, and actually the patriarch of that family was a slave, and I believe one of his sons was actually a slave, and they had escaped and ended up settling some in this particular area. There's also two old prominent railroads that pass through here. So of course you have the Underground Railroad, but then the Midland Railroad and the Monon. So you have those themes kind of running through here as well, sort of as a junction. So you're gonna see Grand Park, you'll see Grand Junction, and actually Grand Junction Park is part of the historic downtown Westfield that's under a major renovation. So you're gonna have more restaurants, more walkability, and the ability to have a gathering place in the downtown area and hold on to a little bit of that history. Also, some of the businesses in the area, like Grand Junction Brewing, which is one of my favorite beers in the area, holds on to that name too. So cool how they've had so much new construction here and have handled the growth, the explosive growth, so well. And one of the other things that's handled the growth so well are the schools. Westfield schools are some of the tops in the state. The high school is easily ranked in the top 20. In fact, most of the time it's ranked in the top 10 in the state. And when you think just back to around 2000, there's only maybe 700, 800 kids in that high school. And now, at this point in 2020, there's about 2,400. So it's still not a giant high school by any stretch of the imagination, especially when you compare it to some of the other northern suburbs in Indy, like over in Fishers with Fishers High School and Hamilton Southeastern High School. They're both over 3,000, and then Carmel High School over 5,000. Westfield's still a little bit smaller, so it's handled that growth incredibly well and maintained its high level of excellence for a really long time. So such a cool, such a unique community, and a lot of people are moving here for the schools. They're also moving here for things to do, like in this park here that I'm standing in right now, and how family friendly it all is, but also to be a part of just the unique vision that Westfield has and hanging on to that incredibly important, incredibly unique and interesting history and handling this explosive growth in a really, really good way. So most of the homes in Westfield, I'd say now, at this point in 2020, are leaning towards being much newer. So if you get back to 2000 and beyond, it's getting to where a majority of the homes are like that. So Westfield could be a great place for you if you're interested in homes that are a little bit newer. And I know a lot of people are. Some people like, of course, vintage homes, older, and want to get into that particular kind of style. And there are tons of places for that. Westfield does have those homes, but they're going to be exceptionally rare because Westfield was very small, really just a handful of decades ago. So you didn't have that many homes. So to handle this explosive growth, like I said, you have to build. And that means a lot of the homes are going to be newer. So if it's something that interests you, Westfield could be a great place for you. So mixing that historic with that new, so unique, so cool. So if you have any questions about Westfield in general or specific ones, then make sure you reach out. And until the next one, we'll see you later.